Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A very warm welcome to today evening, and we are celebrating Narasimha Chaturdashi, which will be on coming Tuesday, the 25th of May. And yesterday we heard the glories, how Lord Narasimha is protecting the Sankirtan movement, and we heard other glories of the Lord. So today we will move and we will read this beautiful Sri Narasimha Mahamantra. Ugram Vero Mahavishnum Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham Narsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityur Mrityum Namamyaham. I bow down to Lord Narasimha, who is ferocious and heroic like Lord Vishnu. He is burning from every side. He is terrific, auspicious, and the death of death personified. So today we will look at these few points, the three amazing qualities of Lord Narasimha. There are so many qualities, and some of them we touched upon yesterday, and we will just look at them again. And we will see how Lord Narasimha continues to protect Sankirtan movement, and we have some pastimes coming up. Then we will also see that how Lord Narasimha protects so many devotees. There are so many stories or pastimes which devotees have experienced personally, that how Lord Narasimha protected them. So there are some of those very interesting stories coming up. And then we will also see that what personal prayer that we can offer to Lord Narasimha. So of course that would be in the footstep of great devotees. There are many prayers that we can offer to Lord Narasimha. Especially we saw some of those prayers yesterday. What we sing as an arti, we saw that how Lord Chaitanya offers that when he visits Lord Narasimha temple. And same prayers we sing every day in our ISKCON temple after Mangala Aarti and in the evening. But here there are two prayers which I chose. One prayer is offered by Prahalad Maharaj, and other is a set of five prayers, a prayer which has five paragraphs. So I've just taken the first paragraph by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And finally we will see the benefit of hearing Prahalad Narasimha pastime. So let's look at those amazing qualities of Lord Narasimha. So Lord Narasimha is Vigna Vinashak. Lord Narasimha is Vigna Vinashak, which means Vigna means any obstacle that comes in the life of a devotee when he wants to progress in spiritual life. And Lord, being very merciful, he removes those obstacles from his life. So this is one amazing quality of the Lord, that he removes the obstacles on the path of devotional service. And sometimes even if it has to do something with the body, or any spiritual difficulty, so the devotees pray to Lord Narasimha and he removes them. In fact, Brahma Samhita, it is mentioned that Lord Ganesh, who has been given this ability and quality to remove the obstacles in this material world, he gains that power and that potency by keeping the lotus feet of Govinda or Narasimha Dev on his forehead. So this is how he receives this power. So there's this verse, I think is the 50th verse in Sri Brahma Samhita. Very nice prayer. Probably some other time we can look at it. Then Lord is also Bhakt Vatsal. As we were seeing yesterday, the description from Padma Puran, that how when Hiranyakashipu became mad with anger and he became very determined to kill his own son, who was a great devotee, we saw that how every activity, every attack on Prahalad, Lord protected him. All what Prahalad Maharaj was doing, he was just absorbed in remembering the Supreme Lord. And all the protection of Prahalad was, the responsibility was on the Supreme Lord. So he was constantly caring and loving Prahlad. In fact, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, which we'll be hearing tomorrow, that sometimes Prahlad would be dancing. There is no apparent reason, but he'll be so happy and he's dancing and he's chanting the holy names because he can experience the presence of the Lord. And at other times, he will start crying because he feels separation from the Supreme Lord. And when he cries, the Lord, he could see the Lord coming from a distance and pacifying him. Prahlad, wait, I'm coming, don't cry. Like a child who's separated from the mother, and the child feels so much separation from the mother and starts crying, and the mother says, beta, don't cry, I'm coming. So like that, the Lord will, rush towards him and, pacify him. So that was how Prahlad was completely absorbed in the Lord, and they had such amazing, loving, affectionate relationship. So that's how Lord is Bhakt Vatsal. In fact, among the 108 names of the Supreme Lord, of Lord Narasimha, there is one which says Om Bhakt Vatsalaya Namaha, obeisances to the Lord who always has the well-being of his devotee at heart. He is always thinking of his devotees' well-being. And another one is Om Sharanagat Vatsalaya Namaha, that those who have surrendered to him, the Lord takes care of that person. Like the mother lioness, she's very, very kind to her cubs. Or Om Prahlad Palakaya Namaha, obeisances to Narasimha, who is the protector of Prahlad Maharaj. So, and anyone else who has surrendered unto him. So that is how Lord is so loving, so affectionate, and he is Bhakta Vatsal. And then we have this beautiful quality that Lord fulfills the words of his devotees. So, because Hiranyakashipu could not kill Prahlad with all those means, and he was extremely frustrated, and towards the end of his life, he had this conversation with Prahlad, and Prahlad was glorifying the Supreme Lord. And then he became very angry with Prahlad, and he said, "Oh, most unfortunate Prahlad, you have always described a supreme being other than me, a supreme being who is above everything, who's controller of everyone, who's all-pervading." So Hiranyakashipu asked, so who's that? Where is he? If he's everywhere, why is he not present before me? Why is he not present in this pillar? So like that, Hiranyakashipu was speaking. So in this particular verse, Hiranyakashipu says, "Oh, most unfortunate Prahlad." So actually, all materialists think, if you meet any materialist, they think that all the spiritualists are unfortunate. So they don't really enjoy life. They don't take pleasure in so many pleasurable things in this material world. And especially in case of Hiranyakashipu, he knew that he's the most powerful personality in this universe, because no one could kill him. If he actually were to just move his eyebrow, the rulers of the different planets will start shivering. What went wrong? What went wrong? Hiranyakashipu will get angry. So that was the kind of power he had. So he was mad with that power. So he was thinking that, see, I am the controller of this whole universe, and you are worshipping and glorifying somebody else other than me. You are very, very unfortunate. Why? Because now I'm going to kill you, and I'll see from where your Lord will come and protect you. So that is the outlook of Hiranyakashipu, and the outlook of a devotee is actually Hiranyakashipu is unfortunate, and the devotees are actually most fortunate, because whether the material circumstances are favorable or unfavorable, they know that material world is always unfavorable or unfortunate. So their eyes are always on the Lord, on the service of the Lord. They are very determined, and they know their future. So there is no question of Prahlad being unfortunate. So just because what Prahlad said meant that Lord is everywhere, he is all pervasive, and that is why when Hiranyakashipu asked that is he in the pillar, right, and he took his fist, he was so powerful that with his fist itself he smashed the pillar. So just to keep the word of his devotee, Lord appeared in the pillar, right? He manifested himself in the pillar, and of course we know in the very, very terrifying form. So one of the one of the addresses of the Lord in the 108 auspicious names of Lord Narasimha is Om Jagat Vyapine Namaha. Obeisances to Narasimha, who pervades the entire universe. So before we continue, we will also see that these great devotees like Prahalad and Dhruv, actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent a lot of time listening to their pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will look at this. So Gadadhar Pandit would recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would listen Srimad Bhagavatam, and he would listen repeatedly. So here this particular quote is from Chaitanya Bhagavat Antilila 10th chapter. Gadadhara padena samukhe bhagavata sunina prakashe prabhu prema bhavayata prahalada charitra ara dhruva charitra shatavritti kariya shune sahivihita. So here Gadadhar Pandit is reading Srimad Bhagavatam in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord is experiencing such bliss. And what is he listening to? He is listening to Prahalad Charitra and Dhruva Charitra. And how many times is he listening to? Shatavritti. He is listening to them 100 times. So whenever Gadadhar would recite Bhagavatam, the Lord would manifest various symptoms of ecstatic love. The Lord attentively heard the glories of Prahalad and Dhruv hundreds of times. So this is the amazing thing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will very attentively listen to that how Prahalad and Dhruv, they practiced devotional service. So if you remember, we discussed a similar thing in the previous session, where if we want to really develop our faith completely, very, very strong faith in the Lord, then we have to study the pastime of Prahalad Narasimha very carefully. It will give us so much of deep-rooted, strong faith in the Lord. So we will continue and we will see that how Lord Narasimha protects Sankirtan movement. So in the previous session, we saw that how the Yavana administrator tried to stop the Sankirtan movement, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went with a huge Sankirtan. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him a question, that so much Sankirtan is happening, you are a Yavana, why you did not stop it? So the Chandkazi said, oh, in the night, the day I broke that Mridanga, I came in the night, Narasimha appeared and he threatened me that I will kill you if you try to stop the Sankirtan movement. So that's how Lord Narasimha is always very keen that the Sankirtan movement is protected and propagated. So we will look at some incidences. So many, I think it's more than 100 years ago, when the temple was established by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, and his father, he is also a great Acharya. He is our Acharya in our Guru Parampara. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his spiritual master was Gaur Kishordas Babaji Maharaj, and his spiritual master was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, especially Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was searching for the actual place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth, the birth site of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and with the help of Jagannath Das Babaji, he could identify the place. So once the place was identified, Bhaktivinoda Thakur worked very hard and he established a temple called the temple at Yogapit, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the temple was there, the worship was going on, but there was a problem with dacoits. So dacoits will come and they will harass and they will always threaten So that time, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod Thakur decided to establish a deity of Lakshmi Narasimha. So we can see that deity here. That is towards the the back side of the temple. If you go and have darshan, so that is where this deity is established. And once the deities were established, the situation became very peaceful, and after that there was not much disturbance. So we see that how our acharyas have established deities of Lakshmi Narasimha and how they helped in the protection of the Sankirtan movement. And then we see this is a place called Simhachalam. It is in Germany, and Simhachalam, we know that the hill which has with the lion hill, So Simhachala is a place also established in Germany, and there were devotees here. And what happened in 1982? The movement was gathering pace in Europe, and devotees were distributing books and doing Nam Sankirtan, but they were constantly harassed by the authorities. They were being arrested in Germany because devotees were trying their best to spread Krishna consciousness. So because of this harassment by the authorities, the devotees were thinking what to do. So in 1982, they decided that maybe we should install Lakshmi Narasimha. After installing Lakshmi Narasimha, we hope that Lord will protect us and we can continue with this service of Sankirtan movement. So, and this actually turned out to be true. The moment he was brought to Germany, the ferocious Lord made his mark. So when the deity was imported from India, when it landed on the Hamburg port, the deity was so heavy that it broke a crane there. And then finally somehow it was deity was offloaded, and the delivery van which was supposed to deliver it at this farm, this devotee farm, so that fellow was driving, and then these devotees at Simhachalam, they received a call from this frightened driver. He said, I don't know what is inside this box, but I don't want to transport it anymore. And then he did not even reach the Simhachalam farm. A little distance away itself, he offloaded the box and he went away from there. He was just got so frightened. What was inside this box? So devotees, anyway, the Lord is very loving towards devotees. So devotees went, they identified that box, they picked it up and brought it all the way to the farm. And then the Lord was duly established, the Pran Pratishtha was done. And amazingly, wonderfully, from the time Lakshmi Narasimha was installed in Germany, the harassment of devotees in Germany reduced drastically. Right? The situation became more peaceful and more calm. And now the situation is that, devotees from all over Europe and other countries also, they go and visit and have darshan of these Lakshmi Narasimha deities. In fact, Simhachalam has become a place of pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage site for the book distributors, because they are the frontline preachers. They're meeting new people there on the street, and there is always this danger of harassment and violence against them. And, they always get the burnt, of so many people who oppose this. So, so this deity is particularly famous among the book distributors, and especially in ISKCON, because in the Western countries, Christmas is the main festival. So devotees have the Christmas marathon, the December marathon. So in the entire month of December, all devotees, they try their best, especially the book distributors, to distribute as many books as possible. So they're very attached to Simhachalam Lakshmi Narasimha Dev, because they experience the kind of protection which he gives them. So this was the situation in 1982. And then 2 years later, in SRIDHAM, Mayapur, on 24th of March, 1984, it was around midnight, a little after midnight, 35 dacoits, they attacked the temple. They had weapons, they had bombs, and they thought that these deities are solid gold. So they came there, they started harassing the devotees, they started ridiculing the devotees, and devotees were shocked because these dacoits, they would try to steal the deities of Srila Prabhupada and Srimati Radharani. So they try to grab them and they try to run away. Some shots were fired, some dacoits fell, and somehow their plans were foiled. So Srila Prabhupada could be rescued, but Srimati Radharani deity could never be placed on the altar again. So when this happened, the devotees became very, very disturbed. And the temple management decided that we must find some permanent solution to this problem, because this was not the first time that the temple had been attacked. There have been similar attacks in the past. So Bhavanand Prabhu was there at that time. He was the co-director of ISKCON Mayapur. And he suggested that why don't we install why don't we install Lord Narasimha? And then he remembered that in the past, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also established or installed Shri Shri Lakshmi Narasimha. And after that, there was no problem in the Yog Peeth. So this idea was accepted, and but the pujaris had some hesitation, because to worship Narasimha Dev, one requires to be a Naishtik Brahmachari. Naishtik Brahmachari means that one should be Brahmachari from birth. He should not have engaged in any kind of sexual activity right from birth. So finding such a pujari in today's time is very difficult. So, pujari should be Naistik Brahmachari. The worship should be of very high standards, very strict and very regulated worship should be there. So there was hesitation regarding that, and devotees were considering everything. But then this devotee who was narrating this pastime, this whole pastime, who coordinated this and arranged the deity, so he started sketching the Narasimha, what kind of Narasimha deity should be there. So there, these two devotees, they were discussing, and then one devotee suggested, the deity, the knee should be bent, and the deity should be as that he's jumping out from the pillar and he's looking around ferociously. His eyes should be like this. His fingers should be curled, because usually we will see that Lord's hands are straight. They're not really curled like this. The fingers should be curled and flames should be coming out of his head. It seems, it seems that he had some kind of a vision or something. So that sketch was drawn, and then finally devotees had a meeting. So gratefully, Pankaj Jangri Prabhu was there, Prabhupada disciple. He agreed, okay, I will worship the deity, so I'm available. I will do that service. And devotees like the sketch also. Yes, this Narasimha is very nice. We will arrange for this deity. And then a devotee, because we need a sponsor, a sponsor was required. So Radhapad Prabhu, there was one devotee, a wealthy devotee from Calcutta. He happily agreed that I will sponsor the deity, the sculpting, and also the installation. I'll arrange for everything, funds for everything. And immediately he gave 1,30,000 rupees advance. And the deity should be ready in 3 months. So this devotee was very happy. Oh, everything is arranged. I think Lord will very quickly manifest in SRIDHAM, Mayapur. So he went to South India, and he found a very famous Sthapati. Sthapati is a person who is trained in the Shilpa Shastra. So this particular Sthapati is very famous. He knew how to carve the deities. He knew about temple architecture. He knew the engineering which is involved in temple construction. So he was very good. And he was very obliging when this devotee, Atma Tattva Prabhu, went and met him. So this Sthapati was very obliging. Yes, please, what? But then when he heard that the deity that this devotee wants is Ugra Narasimha, he said, I will not do that. So this devotee, because Sthapati refused, so he went to many other Sthapatis. All of them flatly refused to make this deity. And then in that he had to make many trips, but nothing was working out. 6 months already got over without any progress. So imagine devotees are expecting within 3 months the installation would happen. Now 6 months, and nobody had even agreed to make a deity. So Radhabad Prabhu was very anxious. 6 months are over, nothing is happening. So he requested this devotee Atma Tattva Prabhu again, do one thing, you go again and again you insist with the old Sthapati, the original Sthapati. So he traveled again. So this devotee came back to South India. He met that Sthapati. Directly he went to his house. And this Sthapati now was more agreeing. So there was a surprising change in this Sthapati. So he said, okay. And he had this book with him on Shilpa Shastra. So he opened that book and he was looking at the different deities. The section where the instructions were there for carving a deity. And in that there was a section about carving Narasimha Dev. So, and he started reading the description, and the description was like, okay, Lord Narasimha, and the description was that his mane, because he as a head of a lion, so his mane was out like fire, and his glance, his eyes and eyes were glancing, were searching eyes, okay, and his knees were bent, and one foot was forward, as if ready to jump from the pillar. So when this devotee heard the description from Shilpa Shastra, he was like so ecstatic. He said, yes, this is the form that, we have made a sketch of. So he immediately showed the sketch to the Sthapati. And Sthapati said, okay, based on the scriptural description in the Shilpa Shastra, I will make one drawing for you. And that drawing will help in carving the deity. But I will not carve the deity. Okay, so what can be done? So the Sthapati took 1 week's time and he drew a detailed diagram of the deity. And it turned out to be really, really impressive. So this devotee was really impressed. He came back to SRIDHAM Mayapur. He showed this deity picture or sketch to the temple authorities, to the devotees, and everybody was impressed, and they said, yes, this is what we want, and we want the same Sthapati to carve. Although that Sthapati had actually flatly refused. So again this devotee went back to South India, and he went and met him, and he said, and before he could say anything, actually this Sthapati said, yes, okay, I will make your deity. So what happened? Last time you said you will not make, and now you're saying you will make. So this Sthapati explained, he said, actually when you told me to make this deity, and with this sketch, I went to my guru, the Shankaracharya of Kanchipuram. So I went to him, and I went and asked his permission that, I am being requested to make this. And Shankaracharya immediately told, don't do it. You should not make Ugra Narasimha deity. You should not make this deity. So, so then he explained, he was asking, Shankaracharya asked that who has asked. So when he heard from the Sthapati that it is the Hare Krishna people from Navadvip, they want this deity. So Shankaracharya became very concerned. They want Ugra Narasimha? Are they aware of what are the implications of installing Ugra Narasimha? And he started telling that actually these deities are not carved now. They were being carved some 3,000 years ago by qualified Sthapatis. And he gave an example that near Mysore there was a place, and there was a very ferocious form of Narasimha which was carved. That Narasimha was sitting, and he on his lap was Hiranyakashipu, and his intestines were all over the altar. A very, very ferocious form of Narasimha was carved. And that townspeople or that village people, they would worship the deities with lot of opulence. Every day was a festival. There was a elephant procession, but gradually the worship declined, and because of that the whole place became abandoned, and nobody could remain there or stay there. So this is the situation. If the deities are not worshipped properly, Ugra Narasimha, then it can actually destroy the place. So Sthapati heard that, and he showed the sketch to the sketch which this devotee had drawn from Mayapur to the Shankaracharya, and Shankaracharya saw that and he said, yes, this is Ugra Narasimha. And in fact, this particular mood of being very angry, knees bent, ready to jump out of the pillar is called Sthanu Narasimha. And he said this Sthanu Narasimha is actually does not exist on this planet. Even the demigods, the devatas in the heavenly planets also do not worship this form. So this form is very ferocious, very angry. And he said, do not carve this deity. It will not be auspicious for you, he told the Sthapati. And he said, I'll talk to you later about that. So a few days later, Sthapati had a dream. And in that dream, his guru came, Shankaracharya came in his dream and he said, for them, you can make the Sthanu Narasimha. So there was a change in what he said earlier, and in the dream, the guru came and he said, you can make the Sthanu Narasimha for the ISKCON people. And next day morning, the Sthapati received a letter hand delivered to him from the Shankaracharya. And in that letter, it was mentioned, the letter was about some other temple service, temple work. And in the bottom, Shankaracharya had mentioned that for ISKCON, you can carve Sthanu Narasimha. So all this was narrated by Sthapati to this devotee, and he said, now because I have the permission from my guru, so I will now carve your deity. So this devotee became very ecstatic. Yeah, good, jai, great. So he gave the advance for the deity making, and he asked how much time it will take for you to carve the deity. He said around 6 months. The deity will be ready for installation. So with this good news, this devotee went to SRIDHAM Mayapur. So he was there blissfully, peaceful, happy. 4 months he spent in SRIDHAM Mayapur. And then he decided that he will go back to South India and purchase all the puja paraphernalia, because heavy brass items would be required for the worship of the Lord, for the worship of the deity. And then once he has completed all that purchase, he will collect the deity and then he'll come back. So trip was very well organized. There was no trouble. And then finally he went to the Sthapati and he told the Sthapati that I have arranged all the paraphernalia and I have come here to collect the deity. The Sthapati looked at this devotee as if, this devotee has lost his senses. What? Deity? Sthapati said, I have not even found the stone, a suitable stone to carve this deity. This devotee, he could not believe his ears. Then you told me that the deity will be ready in 6 months. I am coming almost after 5 months, and you are saying that you have not found the stone. So, and you told that in 6 months the deity will be ready. What's happening? So Sthapati said, I told 6 months after I find the stone. So 6 months after I find the stone, I'll make the deity ready. So this devotee still was not okay. He said, there are so many huge boulders all over the place. Even in South India, granite is famous from South India. You're not able to find the stone. So this Sthapati said, that you are asking me to carve a deity, not a grinding stone. So I need a living stone for carving this deity. So this was the first time when this devotee came to know that for deity carving, a living stone is required. So for all of us, we know that stone does not have life. Stone is considered dead matter. But Sthapati was saying, no, there are living stones, and that has to be found out, and the deity, especially Narasimha deity, should be carved from a living stone. And then this Sthapati went on to explain that there are 2 tests with which you can test whether the stone is living or not. He said that if the stone is taken and then at 7 places he will make different sounds. So if the stone at 7 places make some specific sounds as mentioned in Shilpa Shastra, then the stone is living. And said there is another test. It seems there is a granite eating bug. And if that insect has eaten the granite in a straight line from one side to another side without leaving any trace, then which means that stone is fit for making the deity. And if that deity is carved from such a stone, it will come out perfect, beautiful, like poetry. All the features will come out very well. So he said, have patience. I'm sincerely looking for a right stone, and I'll do it. So I'll keep my promise. 6 months, your deity will be ready. And then this devotee said, okay. What could this devotee do? Sthapati is trying his best. So this devotee said, last time when I came, I forgot to tell you, we are also want a Prahalad deity. So this Sthapati said, that's not possible. Then this devotee was like, why it's not possible? Narsimha is there and Prahalad is there, so we need Prahalad deity. He said, the size of your Narsimha Dev, if I am to make it according to the scriptures, the Prahalad Maharaj will be the size of an amoeba, so small, because your deity is only 4 feet. So he said, no, we want 1 feet Prahalad. Then he said, okay, then the Narasimha has to be 120 feet. That's what the scriptures explain, the proportions. He said, so there was this argument back and forth, and then finally Sthapati said, okay, I will make one Prahalad 1 foot high for you. So finally that agreement was reached, and finally this devotee went back to Mayapur, and they continued to wait. So this devotee continued to go back and forth to South India, and nothing seems to be happening. And finally, Sthapati found a stone. So he found a stone, that huge slab was there, and his assistant had just chipped the outer boundaries. And this Sthapati will just sit there, looking at the stone. He had not even taken the chalk to make a drawing. He was just sitting there. And then this devotee went back, and when next time he came, then he saw, okay, sketch has been made on the stone. So Sthapati was taking all his time, complete meditation on carving this deity. And again, after a few trips, he saw that Sthapati was himself, this very famous Sthapati, he himself was carving the whole deity with great intense care and dedication. And the stone had gone, and the deity began to manifest its shape. And the deity and the Sthapati had started carving the armlets on the arms of the Lord. And it took 2 weeks just to carve the armlets, the ornaments worn on the arms. And all the features were so refined and delicate. So this devotee was so blissful. He said, beautiful, amazing. He was so impressed. He was very happy. And so finally, it took this Sthapati 12 months, over 12 months to finish the deity after he found the stone. So, so this devotee was in SRIDHAM, Mayapur, and Sthapati actually completed the work, and he did not immediately inform this devotee that the deity is ready. So Sthapati completed the deity, and there were some guests at home. Monsoon had just started, so it was raining. So he locked his shed. Usually, if some of you have seen the Sthapatis here, I have visited some of them. So they will have large space with a lot of stones and some finished, sculptures, some semi-finished sculptures. So like that, there will be so many things. There's a large shed. So he closed his shed and he went home to meet his friends. For a few days, he was away. And it was monsoon season. It was raining. And suddenly the neighbors got in touch with this Sthapati. He said, your shed is on fire. So all those coconut leaves, it was raining, and those coconut leaves would have got wet, but the whole shed got burnt. And this Sthapati came running back, and he saw that, the whole shed is gone, but the deity is untouched. And he understood why this is happening. So he called this devotee, and he said, the Sthapati called up and he said, please come immediately, take your deity. He's burning everything. He made it very clear he wants to go now. you come. So Sthapati made that call, and this devotee rushed from Mayapur, and they hired a truck, half filled it with sand, and then the deity was so heavy that it had to be really lifted with a crane. It weighed almost 1 ton, so it had to be lifted with a crane. It took several hours for them to actually load the deity into the truck. And that was not all, because the deity had to travel from South India all the way to Bengal. So there were so many permissions required. There was police permission, there were signed papers from Central Sales Tax Department. That time it was sales tax, not GST. Then archaeological director had to give a letter, permission. Art Emporium Directorate of Tamil Nadu had to give a letter. So there was so many bureaucracy, government bureaucracy was involved to give the permission. And this devotee had such an amazing experience. He said whichever authority he approached, all of them wanted to see the deity. And when they came and saw Narasimha Dev, they immediately signed the papers and they gave the permission. So it was just so amazing. There was no hitch, and the deity was very quickly transported to SRIDHAM Mayapur. And this devotee felt that yes, our protector has finally manifested and he is definitely present with us. So finally, when the deity time for installation came, so usually at the time of installation, the Sthapati who has carved the deity, he will come at the time of installation, because the carving of the deity and installation there may be a lot of time in between. The temple may not be ready or whatever reasons. So the deity was ready for installation, and usually the Sthapati will come, and just at the time of installation, he will do the final carving of the eyes, the Netra Unmilitam, the opening of the eyes. So he will just carve the deities at that time. But in this case, it was an exceptional situation. In fact, that Sthapati, right in his shed, he had already carved the eyes. From his side, he did the Pran Pratishtha. He offered a little puja and arti also. And now this devotee understood, oh, that is how all the paperwork went through so quickly, and there was no hassles in transporting the Lord to SRIDHAM Mayapur. So, I mean, who can actually say no to Lord Narasimha Dev? Especially this extremely ferocious Thanu Narasimha. So deities were established, installed in SRIDHAM Mayapur, and the Mayapur installation was comparatively very simple and affair, and it lasted for 3 days, from 28th to 30th of July 1986. So you can understand, from March 84, it became July 1986. Finally, this amazingly ferocious and beautiful two devotees form of Ugra Narasimha was established in SRIDHAM Mayapur. And since then, the temple has not experienced any crisis of that nature, people coming and attacking. So those kind of problems had not come. In fact, because ISKCON World Headquarters is in SRIDHAM Mayapur, so Lord Narasimha is actually not just protecting ISKCON Mayapur, but all the devotees and all the ISKCON centers. So his protection is everywhere. So this was one amazing pastime, and we understand so many things from this. One important thing that we understand is those people who do not have faith in the deities, because there are so many people and so many religions which do not accept deities. But when we actually have faith and when we try to understand, then we see that how Lord, when the Lord is a deity is carved as per the scriptural rules and injunctions, and devotees lovingly install him, invite him to reside in the deity form, then actually there's no difference between the deity and the Supreme Lord. So that can be directly seen, and we will see here again. So once the deity was installed, we'll look at, see how Narasimha Dev protects devotees. So when the deity was installed, and the pujaris were, some of the pujaris were still very, very greatly concerned, because Lord has such awesome form, the different hands, and just now you saw the close-up of Lord's face. So some pujaris were like very scared. So one of the devotee who was serving as pujari was Bhav Siddhi Prabhu. He was particularly frightened. And one night, after putting the Lord to rest, and he was leaving the altar. So he turned around and he was leaving the altar, and he heard a terrible sound, a tremendous sound. It was so loud, all the hairs on his body stood on end. And then fearfully he looked back, and then he saw everything is okay. So then he came out, he locked the altar, he offered his obeisances, and he seeked forgiveness if there is any mistake that has happened. Oh Supreme Lord, kindly forgive me inadvertently if I've committed. So, he was shaken with that sound. He came back and he was resting. And so towards the end of night, these devotees were in SRIDHAM Mayapur. They were sleeping on bunk beds. So all the pujaris were there, and they would sleep on bunk beds. So he was sleeping up. There was another pujari down, and the bed shook. So Bhav Siddhi Prabhu's sleep got disturbed, and he thought, okay, this pujari it would be morning, and he would be getting up for Mangala Aarti for his services. So he is getting up, taking bath, and getting ready and going. So when he opened his eyes, at the other end of the bed, he saw Lord Narasimha Dev sitting there on his bed. And this fortunate pujari, he became very fearful, practically to the point of panic. He started panicking, and he tried to get up. And Lord Narasimha Dev placed his two hands on his shoulders, felt like as if it's the weight of the universe on his shoulders. So he placed him back on his bed, and then in the deep voice, Lord Narasimha told him, be peaceful, be calm. I have just come here to tell you that when you are worshipping me in the temple, there is no need to fear me. Please give up this fear. So to give this advice or instruction, the Lord had personally appeared to Bhava Siddhi Prabhu. And then Lord disappeared. And one can imagine what would be the situation of Bhav Siddhi. So he jumped from there, and he got out, and he was running up and down in the corridor of the building where he was staying. And then when people saw him, because it was Mangala Aarti time and the other devotees were going towards the temple, when they saw him running up and down, they thought probably some ghost has come or he has gone mad. What has happened? And then this Bhav Siddhi Prabhu, he went to the temple. He offered his obeisances for a long time. He offered his prayers, and gradually he calmed down. And then once he gathered himself, he started back from the temple, and that time he realized there's so many people, and many of them were looking at him, and he realized, why are they looking at me? And then he saw, oh, he was in his night dress. So he came back, and later when I think Pankaj Angri Prabhu, when he met him many years later, and he asked him, Bhav Siddhi Prabhu, about that incident, about appearance of Lord Narasimha. So Bhav Siddhi Prabhu said, yes, I still have the marks from the nails of the Lord. So those marks have faded, but they can still be seen. So those marks remained on the body of Bhav Siddhi Prabhu. So how Lord may have a very terrifying and a very fearsome form, but he is so loving to his devotees, and he especially advised this devotee that you should not be fearful when you are worshipping me. And now we have this incident of Anurupa Mataji. She is a Srila Prabhupada disciple, And in 1975, she was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in Florida, Miami, US. And in 2004, in summer of 2004, His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj was traveling to Alachua, Florida. And this Mataji approached Maharaj, and she said that, Maharaj, I want your blessings for my departure from this world. That I'm going to die, I'm going to leave this body, I'm going to go away. I need your blessings, Maharaj, for my departure from this world. So why was she saying like that? Because she had, her illness was that she was infected with hepatitis C, and she had 3rd stage fibrosis of the liver. So she was going through the final treatment, and that treatment was, the duration was for 48 weeks. And there was only 45% chance of her survival, and that too with a lot of side effects. So when she told this to Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, so Maharaj looked at her, and he said, you look at this. So Maharaj had this staff, this stick or staff. And Maharaj said that this staff has been touched. It was touched to Narasimha Dev in Mayapur. And then Maharaj took this staff and placed it on Andrupa Mataji's head. So that night she had a dream that her body was diseased with leprosy and the body is fading away. But next morning, she got a phone call from the University of Florida, where she was being treated by the doctors. And her treating doctor called up and said, congratulations, you are free from hepatitis C. The viral count is non-reactive in just 8 weeks. And doctors were just amazed, especially because the kind of viral infection that she had, it was the most deadliest type of hepatitis C. So what was amazing was that not just her recovery, but I really found her prayer to be really amazing, which is behind me. Hopefully you can see the entire prayer. Whatever you desire, whatever your desire. So actually Mataji would pray to Narasimha Dev every single day, and this is her prayer in her own words, and it has a lot of learning for us. Whatever your desire, she's praying to the Lord Narasimha, whatever your desire, you may take me from this world or you may cure me, whatever you see fit. So we can see the surrender of Mataji. She was completely surrendered. However, please allow me to always be engaged in your pure devotional service. So this is the perfection of prayer. Whatever you desire, you want to keep me in this material world, you want to cure me, or you want to take me away from this material world, you do whatever you deem fit. Just allow me, just please keep me engaged in pure devotional service. So this was her constant prayer. And we have this also is an amazing incident. This is much earlier. This is in late 70s, and devotees has just begun to preach in Europe, and this was in Hamburg, Germany. And so devotees were doing Nagar Sankirtan. So this was very famous. All devotees will go every day for Nagar Sankirtan. In the process, they will do distribution of books. So they're doing Nagar Sankirtan in Hamburg, and sometimes they would go to the most sinful area of Hamburg, the Reeperbahn. And in Reeperbahn, they would go, and that too they will go in the night time, because morning they will go, nobody will be there. Night time, everybody will come out and will engage in all kinds of sinful activities. So these devotees will also go at that time, so that these people, they are not interested in spiritual life. Okay, at least they will hear the holy names and they'll get purified. So devotees went there, and they were doing on one day, on one night, devotees were doing, and a huge man, he was really big, and he saw them, and he became very angry, and he started moving towards these devotees to attack them. And the devotees thought, what we'll do? Should we run away, or should we confront this man? One devotee thought, maybe I have kartal, I will swing this kartal and I'll see if I can hit him. because devotees did not have anything to defend themselves, and this guy was really huge, big fellow, and was very angry. So their group leader, the devotees group leader, said, just chant Narsimha prayer. So they all started chanting Namaste Narasimhaya. So devotees are praying, and then man continued to come closer. He continued to come closer. He was just 4 or 5 feet away. And then something happened. His body just lifted and he fell back. And he fell flat on the ground. So Reaper Ban is a very sinful area. And two things are always available: police and ambulance. So immediately police came. By that time, certain people also had gathered what was happening, and then the ambulance came and they took that man, and that man had actually suffered a massive heart attack. He was no more. So sometimes, and there is not one, there are many different incidences where devotees were cornered. There was one devotee, she was distributing books from one block to another block, and it was evening, and some men cornered her, and she also started chanting Narsimha's prayers, and those fellows, they ran off from there. So maybe we'll discuss that some other day. And finally, we have this another amazing pastime. There was this small girl. Now this girl, Ananda, this is her initiated name. She was from Philippines. She was born and brought up in Philippines in a Catholic family. So she lived, they were a very poor family, a very large family, lot of family members, many children, and they lived in a poor bamboo hut, and near their hut a new ISKCON center opened up. So this girl, Ananda was very attracted to this temple. She would go there, she'll make flower garlands. She sometimes would get an opportunity to clean the altar. She would sing and dance in front of the deities. It was very nice prasadam. The devotees were very kind. She was very attracted. But because the family was Catholic, the parents would sometimes punish her severely for going to the temple. They wanted this girl to grow up as a nice Catholic Christian. So there was always this problem with the parents. So she wanted to go for Mangala Aarti. She was just a 9-year-old girl, and she wanted to go for Mangala Aarti. So we may not understand how difficult it was, but they were all living in one hut. There were so many family members. They were spread all over the place. And because it was a bamboo hut, the floor, if one walks on the floor, it will creak, the sound will come. If one opens the door or closes the door, sound will come. So how will she get up? And it is pitch dark. It's in the, late night. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30, because she wanted to go for Mangala Aarti, which is at 4:30. So how would she ever cross in dark without making sound, open the door without her parents coming to know? So she made a prayer to the Lord that you please make arrangements so that I can go for Mangala Aarti. So then she revealed later that somehow she'll wake up at the right time. She felt that Krishna would wake her up, and there was some moon-like glow in the hut, and she could see, and she could step over people. The floor will not make noise, and the door she will open and close, that will also not make noise. And that is how she would go for Mangala Aarti. And then after attending, she will come back, she'll sneak out, sneak back, and without getting noticed. So, and then later, she grew up to be a nice devotee. She would go out on distributing books. So once she was doing book distribution in the wealthy part of Philippines. She had a very large bag of books. And she was determined that today I will sell all the books, then only I'll come back. So there was one big estate. So she rang the bell, but nobody was there. So she opened those heavy iron gates. She went in, and the house which was there in that estate, she knocked one door, nobody opens. And then she was looking for where is the owner. She knocked another door, nothing was happening. And then suddenly she noticed that there were two German shepherd dogs, huge, large German shepherd dogs, and they came, they came barking. And actually, they were specially trained guard dogs, which means they will not hesitate to attack, and they will bite any stranger or any intruder without mercy. So that is how they were trained. So she realized that she has made a mistake. She shouldn't have entered this closed gate without permission. But now what she can do? So immediately she prayed to Lord Narasimhadev. So she offered her prayers, and the dogs were coming, barking. I mean, almost they would have bitten her, but they just stopped. And suddenly the dog's behavior changed, as if they saw something. And instead of, attacking her, their tails lowered and they started sniffing her. And just then the door that she had last knocked, the owner came out, and he was shocked to see Ananda. He said, actually, these dogs could have really seriously injured you, and they've done it in the past. They are trained to be like that. So this person was so impressed, he bought all the books of Ananda, in fact gave donation for the temple as well. So this is how Lord Narasimha protects his devotees who are out on Sankirtan. So he is always protecting the devotees of Sankirtan. It's already 8 o'clock, but we will just look at what personal prayers we should offer to Lord Narasimha this Narasimha Chaturdashi. So there are some 2 prayers basically, and I want, if possible, you take a screenshot so that you can recite it regularly as an offering to Lord Narasimha on Narasimha Chaturdashi, which is on 25th May, coming Tuesday. So this verse is from the 5th canto, 18th chapter, 8th verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Narsimhaya Namaste Tejase Avirbhava Vajra Nakha Vajra Damshtra Karma Shayan Randhaya Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Atmani Bhuyashtha Om Shraum. So this is the verse. This is the prayer which is offered by Prahalad Maharaj and all the residents. They are all in Hari Varsha, and they worship Lord Narasimha with this particular prayer. So we'll look at what this prayer means. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Narasimha Dev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires or fruitive activities in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. So these are the 2 points which Prahlad Maharaj is saying, that you have those nails and those teeth like thunderbolt, and please vanquish these demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. We were discussing this yesterday also, that we have this desire to enjoy in the material world. Whatever we see, any person, any object, we want to enjoy that. And here Prahlad Maharaj is saying that you please vanquish that demon-like desire from the heart. And then he's praying that you drive away this ignorance. I am trying to enjoy this material world only because of ignorance, because I do not know the truth. So please drive away this ignorance so that I may become fearless and I don't have to any longer struggle in this material world. So this is the prayer of Prahlad Maharaj for our meditation, that may Lord Narasimha bless us so that we are free from the ignorance and demon-like desires. And then now we have a very beautiful prayer. This is by Bhaktivinoda Thakur from Shri Navadi Bhavatarang. So there are actually 5 prayers here. Today we will just look at the first verse. E dushta hridaya kama adi ripu chaya kutinati pratisthasha satya sadaraya hridaya sodana ara krishnera vasana Narsimha Charana Mura Eito Kamana. So here he is saying, within my heart, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying to Lord Narasimha, and by his example, we also can do the same. Within my sinful heart, the 6 enemies headed by lust perpetually reside, as well as duplicity, the desire for fame, plus sheer cunning. at the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha, I hope that he will mercifully purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Lord Krishna. So the heart is infested with these enemies, and the prayer at the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha is that you please purify my heart and give me the desire to always serve Lord Krishna. So these are, I found these prayers very nice, very beautiful, and we can personally offer these prayers from our own personal side to Lord Narasimha Dev today, tomorrow, and definitely on Narasimha Chaturdashi on 25th May, coming Tuesday. And what is the benefit of hearing Prahlad and Narasimha pastime, which we'll hear in detail tomorrow? 7 o'clock, we'll be hearing in detail Prahlad Narasimha pastime. What is the benefit? So there is this verse which Lord Narasimha Dev says, Ya etat kirtayen mahyam tvaya geetam idam naraha tvam cha mam cha smaran kale karma bandhat pramuchyate. One who always remembers your activities and my activities also, means activities of Prahlad and Narasimha. The one who remembers Prahlad Narasimha Leela and who chants the prayers you have offered becomes free in due course of time from the reactions of material activities. So this is the benediction which all of us will receive if we will lend our ears to hearing the pastime of Prahlad Narasimha. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. I would like you to share your realizations and the lessons learned, things that have touched your heart. So please share that in the comments. If you'll share it in the comments, I can see them and I can respond to them. I'll be really glad to read them. Thank you very much. Shri Prahlad Narasimha Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nidai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Ladadayine. Prahlad Ladadayine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Shilatankana khalaye. Shilatankana khalaye. Ito Narasimha parato Narasimha. Ito Narasimha parato Narasimha. Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. Bahir Narasimha hridaye Narasimha. Bahir Narasimha hridaye Narasimha. Narasimha madhim sharanam prapate. Narasimha madhim sharanam prapate. Narasimha madhim sharanam prapade. Narasimha madhim sharanam prapade. Kavakara kamal vare nakam adbhuta shringa. Dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bringa. केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे. जय जगदीश हरे. जय जगदीश हरे. नवकर कमल वरे नखा अद्भुत श्रृंगार. Dalita जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमल भरे नाम कुत श्रृंगा कालिका हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगा केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज